All right, what's up? It's your boy Zairis, TeJion. We're in FAYNC Mag headquarters, and we got
NERV.
Yes,
Nervous
sir.
Wreck.
And we about to get into it. What's been going on with you? Like tell people about who you are, what you represent, and just give the people a little more information about you for people that might not know you.
All right, so my background is, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was in a group called Sheltuh. And, at the time, we've had a pretty, nice following, in Fayetteville and the surrounding areas. Also around that time, a 14-year-old J. Cole, we got introduced to him at a show, at one of our shows, and kind of took him under our wing and mentored him. And that's pretty much the Fayetteville stuff. In 2004, I moved to Raleigh to go to engineering school to make my music better. And I've been out in the Raleigh-Durham area since then. Started a business out there. And then in 2023, I've been missing the music a lot. So I started getting back into the music, and I started a record label. And I signed an artist from Fayetteville named Pretty Face Gangster, AKA PFG. And that's my main goal in life right now, is just to get him to the place that he deserves to be, which is superstar status.
Right. So PFG, like tell people a little more about him. Like how did you find him, or like what goals do you have? Well, you say you want him to go higher, but tell people more about him. So
he's been doing music in Fayetteville for a long time. He originally went by Sweepstakes or Sweeps.
Okay.
So a lot of people know him from that era. And then probably like around 2019, 2020, he started going by Pretty Face Gangster. And I got reintroduced to him around that time through my boy Bob Wire. Bob Wire was kind of working with him at that point. And then in 2023, I just started having conversations with him, and told him, what my idea was and what my plan was to start a label. And I just, kind of gave him my whole, rollout and, plans for the future. And he was with it, and, we signed him, and, we just been at it for a couple of years now. And, the future is very bright, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if you had to pick like one project or song from him, what would you pick?
Well, I guess the first project that we put out on the label called the Sheltuh is West Side Shooter Point Guard. And I would say that one because a lot of the songs that's on that project are like, when I started hearing him a few months prior to starting the label, I was at Izzy Nice crib on like Thanksgiving 2022.
Okay. And
they was in there, well, he wasn't in there, but Izzy Nice was in there, and they was just playing some of his new music, and I was just like, oh my God, dude is crazy.
Yeah, he fired.
And I knew he's been crazy for a long time, but I'm just like, yo, we gotta do something. You know what I'm saying? This cat need to be heard. So I started having, thoughts then about starting a label. And then, like a month later, I ended up having a conversation with Cole and just told him my idea. And he was just like, yo, that sounded like a good idea. So I went with it. And then a few months later, after I started the label, actually 4 or 5 months after I started the label, my partner, Filthy Rich, he had ended up getting murdered in Fayetteville. But that was the original plan, was to get my group Bomb Shelter back together, start putting out new music again. And, unfortunately, he was murdered before that actually got to happen. But then a week after he was murdered is when I got on the phone with PFG and started telling him my ideas and, the plans. And it was almost like, Filthy Rich, was like kind of giving an alley-oop from, from the other side. So it was kind of poetic in that way. And, pretty much everything we do with the label now is like in honor of Filthy. The logo, the Sheltuh is really Filthy, saluting with the cut-off gloves.
Okay. That's fire.
Yeah, so, there's symbolism there, and, that's what we do it for. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so tell everybody about the Sheltuh, like what is it about? Do you plan on like signing more artists, or like you just focus on one at a time right now?
So, I definitely want to sign more artists. Well, the Sheltuh is the name of the label. We got that name because of Bomb Shelter, of course, ever since, the late 90s. Probably like around, I think it was 95, my parents moved out of Fayetteville and they moved to St. Louis. That's why I asked y'all about that earlier. My father was in the Air Force. He got stationed out there, and I started renting a house from them. And that was kind of like our college years with me and the crew, all-terrain crash unit crew. And for years we just sat over there learning how to make beats and like perfecting our craft. And then we always called the house the Sheltuh. So then when we moved it to Raleigh, we called it the Sheltuh. And then it was like the same year that Cole ended up getting signed, I walked away from music and stopped doing music for a while and was just, looking for something else in life because I'd been doing it for so long. And, a few years after that, when Cole starts blowing up and he gets his own studio, he called it the Sheltuh and paying homage to Bomb Shelter. And, I really appreciated that and respected that. And, I would always call my studio the Sheltuh. Oh, this is Sheltuh 3.0 or 4.0 or whatever, because we moved around a lot. So, when it was time to start the label, I was looking for a name and I couldn't come up with a name. And I prayed to God. I was like, yo, just give me the name that just represents everything. And it's like literally when I said that name came to my head, the Sheltuh. And I remember when I told Cole about it, I was like, yo, I got a name for it. And he was like, what is it? And I tried to set it up for him. And he's like, no, just tell me the name. I said, the Sheltuh. He was like, I get it.
Perfect.
He's like, I get it. You ain't got to say nothing because I understand. I was like, I bet. So it's been the Sheltuh, and, we just trying to carry on the legacy. You know what I mean? I got, PFG from the Ville. So, you know what I mean? We just not going to stop rocking with the Ville. We always rocking with the Ville. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely, always looking for more talent. You know what I'm saying? So it's not out the question.
Yeah, definitely. So can anybody be looking for new music from you personally?
That's a great question. Probably right before I started the label, I started back making beats again. It was probably 2021, I would say. In the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, we find something to do during this. I started making beats again, started doing that, and I was like, well, I'm making beats again, I might as well start rapping again. So I ended up just, having actually a couple of projects worth of music, and I just never put it out. And to answer your question, you're gonna see some music coming out, you know what I'm saying, that's from me. I got, a lot of music that's unreleased. I've been working on stuff, and I just really haven't been focused on myself. That's why it hasn't came out, but I do have some music, and I'm probably gonna be releasing something this year.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So tell the people something that you want them to know that they don't know yet, as far as your journey right now.
That's a good question. I mean, there's a couple things, but I can't really talk about them right now.
I get it.
So there's hopefully, in the next month or two, there's gonna be some real big, surprises getting revealed. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, as far as me, I ain't gonna lie. When it comes, my fault. When it comes to my music, I get anxiety a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not like the nervous wreck of in the past. You know what I'm saying? Back in the days, I'm ripping heads off and all that. And now I'm like a family man, and it's, I'm still trying to be me as an artist. And sometimes it's kind of hard to be, that and, who you are as a father and a husband and all of that. Yeah. So, I ain't gonna lie, man, I'm 48 years old. I'm about to be 49 in a couple weeks. And that's another reason why I started the label, was for people, my age, to have a platform. And and that's another thing that I pitched when I was pitching the label. I'm like, there's not really a label out here that caters to older cats, you know what I'm saying? Not that I want nothing but older cats, but I'm just saying the opportunity is there for them. Yeah. So, that's, one of the things I did for the label. But when it comes to me personally, that's something I will say is that I get anxiety, man. Just because I've been away from the game so long, I'm just being honest, it's kind of hard for me to see myself as coming back as an artist. But, I got some ideas and, some creative ways I'm about to do it. So I think we're going to be good. At the end of the day, people just need to hear the music. Right.
So last question. What makes your label different from other labels?
Well, number one, we like heavily rooted in Fayetteville culture. That's number one. I mean, I'm involved, you know what I'm saying? That makes it different than all the other labels, you know what I'm saying? And, you know what I mean, we got PFG, who I feel is the next superstar out of the Ville, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really feel that way. And, you know what I mean, I'm gonna keep pushing him until I get him to that level. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it's all about, man. Yeah, man, I appreciate you chopping it up, man.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
bro.
Yeah. And we out. FAYNC Mag. We in the headquarters with NERV. Peace.